All right. At the beginning of today's lesson, I've got this crispy rice cereal box. It's three-dimensional. As you can see, it's a rectangular prism. But if I wanted to make it flat and see what it looks like before they assemble it and put all the cereal in it, it would look like this. All right, this is what you call a net. A net is the two-dimensional shape of a three-dimensional figure. So here it is, 3D. Here it is, 2D, two-dimensional. It's the same box, flattened out. And that's basically today's lesson, is learning about nets, the flattened out version of three-dimensional objects. All right, so here we go. All right, so lesson 11.1 is found on page 435. Three-dimensional figures and nets. How do you use nets, which is the 2D version or the flat version, to represent three-dimensional figures? A solid figure is a three-dimensional figure because it has three dimensions: length, width, and height. Solid figures can be identified by the shapes of their bases. So depending on the shape of the base, that tells us the name of the solid figure. The number of bases, in this case there's 2, and the shapes of their lateral faces. So it has 1, 2, and back there a third lateral face. So let's take a quick look at our vocabulary here. We have a vertex. That's the pokey pointy part on both a two-dimensional and a three-dimensional figure. This is an edge. That's the fold line is an edge. The flat surface that it sits on is the base, and this is another lateral face. It's any face that is not the base. So there's actually more than one. This is also a lateral face, This is right there. This is another base. This is another vertex. There isn't just one, in other words. There can be multiples. This is another edge. In fact, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 edges that I can see easily on this three-dimensional figure. All right, let's get started on our problem. A designer is working on the layout for cereal box shown. Identify the solid figure and draw a net that the designer can use to show the placement of information and artwork on the box. All right, so the first question, how many bases are there? Well, there's 2 bases. There and there. There's our 2 bases. Are the bases congruent? Are they the same? This congruent means, are they exactly the same? And the answer is yes, they are. What are the shape of the bases? Well, they're rectangles. So now we're going to identify this solid figure based on all that information we just gathered. Okay, recall that a prism is a solid figure with 2 congruent parallel bases. Its lateral faces are rectangles. These are all, this is a lateral face, this right here, the front is a lateral face, this over here is another one, then the back is another lateral face. They're all rectangles. It's named for the shape of its bases. Is the cereal box a prism? Does it have 2 bases? Yes. what shape are the bases? They're rectangular. So the box is a rectangular prism. All right, so now we're going to draw the net for the figure. So we're going to make a list of the shapes we'll use. We have the top and bottom bases. They're both rectangles. The left and right faces are also rectangles. Sorry, make that look like an A. And the front and back faces are also rectangles. Okay, so here's a face, and this is the back of our box. This is the side. This is the side with all the nutritional information on it. This is the base, the top base. This is the bottom base. So this is the net using the shapes that we listed. So if we have two bases, a front and a back, two sides, we have to have at least 6 rectangles there, right? And we do. All right, let's try this again. A pyramid. A pyramid is a solid figure with a polygon-shaped base and triangles for lateral faces. Like prisms, pyramids are named by the shape of their base. A pyramid with a rectangle for a base is called a rectangular prism. So it has 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's a rectangle. Identify and draw a net for the solid figure. So this is also a pyramid. It's not a prism because it doesn't have a second base. Okay, so describe the base of this figure. It's 1, 2, 3-sided. Anything with 3 sides is a triangle. So I'm going to say it's 3. Oops. Okay, I'm going to say 3-sided, which equals a triangle, right? Describe the lateral faces. We have 1, 2, 3 of those lateral faces. They're also triangular shape. So the lateral faces are also triangles. So the figure is a triangular pyramid. This one is a rectangular pyramid because the base is a rectangle. This one's a triangular pyramid because the base is a triangle. All right, shapes to use in the net. The base is a triangle, right? Let's get on the screen here. And the lateral faces also happen to be triangles. So if I was going to draw this net, I would start with, let's say I'd start with a triangle. There's my base. Okay. So then I have 1, 2, 3 triangles coming off of that. I have this lateral face, this lateral face, and this lateral face, all coming off the base, the triangular base. Sorry, I'm not good at drawing, but you get the idea. There, that's a little better. This one up here, if I were to draw the net for our rectangular prism, that would have been a square to start with, which is a rectangle. And then I'd have the pointy pieces coming off of it like that. Okay, and then here we're going to identify and sketch this solid figure. So now they gave us the net instead of giving us the solid figure. So we need to figure out what this solid figure is. That could be formed by the net. The net has only 2 triangles. So it cannot be a pyramid. See these over here? They had to have 3 or 4 triangles in order to be a pyramid. So this one can't be a pyramid. So the triangles must be the bases then. It's going to sit on the triangles for a triangular prism. Let's take a look at some shapes that look like these. Let's see. Here's a triangular prism. So if it was put together, if you cut this net out and folded it up, this is the shape it would make. There's a triangle base, like this one. There's another triangle base, and then 1, 2, 3 sides. 1, 2, 3 sides. Let's see if we can find a pyramid here. I have a triangular pyramid. I certainly do. Right here. And that's the same thing. If I cut this out, folded it up, it would look like this or this. Okay. So we're going to compare the faces and the lateral faces of our, let's see, and I've misplaced my pencil. Here we go. Oh, I didn't draw this. Sorry. Okay, so I need a triangle. And a second triangle. Make them look the same. Now I'm going to connect them with 1, 2, 3 sides to make it 3-dimensional. Let's take that out just a little further so you can see that it didn't run into the line there. Let's do this. There, that's a little more clear now. Okay, and the little dashed lines implies that I can't actually see that line, but I know it's back there. Okay, so we're going to compare the bases and lateral faces of prisms and pyramids. All right, so both pyramids and prisms have polygon-shaped bases. So both, let's see, prisms and pyramids have polygon-shaped bases. Triangle, rectangle, multiple sides. All right, but prisms have 2 bases. Well, let's put a comma there. But prisms have 2 bases, where pyramids only have 1. One base. Long sentence, but there you have it. All right, the lateral faces of prisms are rectangles. Okay, so all the lateral faces are rectangles. This one's a rectangle. The far side, see how these are all rectangles here. Same thing happened with our cereal box, right? So that's the net of our cereal box. And all of these lateral faces are rectangles. The lateral faces of prisms are rectangular. Sorry, skip some letters there. Okay, here we go. We're going to try again. Rectangular. But the lateral faces of pyramids are what? They're all triangles. The lateral faces of pyramids are triangles. All right, last part. Here we go. Identify and draw a net for the solid figure. Okay, so we've got a rectangular base and we have triangular sides. Therefore, the base is, let's see, rectangular, 4 sides. The lateral faces are triangular because they're 3 sides. So the figure is a rectangular pyramid because it only has 1 base instead of 2. This one would be, the bases are rectangular, the lateral faces are rectangular, therefore this would be a rectangular prism. And so on. Okay, so continue working on this in class. Let's take a look at our notes real quick. So for notes, I basically just put a bunch of examples of nets. All right, so we've got our 3-dimensional figures and nets. This is our vocabulary, the bases, the vertex, the edges, the lateral faces. This is the shape. This is the net of a pyramid. This is the net of a rectangular prism. This is the net of a triangular prism. The net of a cone, the net of a cube, and the net of a cylinder.